Total estimated cost about 8,900, typically, public comment. I just like allegiance, I got stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. We've got a few folks in the audience. As we typically do, we do open up the beginning of the board meeting for any public comment that is not on the agenda. Is there anyone here?
I think you guys should do that at the end of the meeting, right? Not at the beginning of the meeting.
Because it's not an open
Okay,
meeting.
so we can wait for you until the end of the meeting.
Everyone worked.
There is somebody raising their hand, I imagine. I'm gonna ask them as soon as I can get there.
We do have. Just, we got, you want to stand and say your name?
Yes.
John, is that you?
Yeah, come on up, stand up.
Here.
Well, let's start with you, John.
Or-
Haven't seen you in a while. How you been?
Not bad. My name is John Castellini. I live at 302 Westminster Road, and my question is, or has the town ever looked into the possibility of changing its status to try to become a city? Where, and the advantage to that is that you get a lot more state revenue as if you're a city. It's been tried in other towns. Especially for your school districts and your, again, the town with police cover to see the village research.
Thank you, John.
Wow.
We will look into it. We've got our attorney for the town, Matt, totally right here with us, and Matt can do a little investigating and update us.
It was tried in Dennis, but because of two different parties at the time, it became an issue of control. And it would have been a great revenue for the taxpayers of the village of South Lake at the time, because again, it's a duplication of everything. Your police departments were 5 feet from each other. And that all would come to an end. You'd be wanting to investigate and do this. Out of revenue for the state of New York.
Thank you.
Well, we'll definitely look into it, John, and if it's seems like an issue that we should explore, we'll continue to do it. And one way or the other, if we don't report that at a meeting, I'll give you a call and let you know what we're thinking. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
Elaine, how are you?
I wanted to actually remember discuss with you about these two new justices that's running for the town to it. I'm wondering when the public gonna get a chance to meet and greet them before they start putting signs out, ringing doorbell. I didn't even know that Gideon was retiring, so we had two. Are they gonna start, maybe you suggest they do a meet and greet, will we come here, or they out in the public or another community, so the public and the would get a chance to meet them and then decide who's the best candidate for them. Because normally they'll just come and start throwing signs and I don't know who's who. So I mean, that might be a suggestion that have a meet and greet, or you ask them to come over here, we have a meet and greet.
In the old days, the Eagle Bolton used to do a little candidates interview, but that's gone by the wayside like 20 years ago.
Judicial candidates?
I have before, but
Yes, you have.
Are you gonna interview both judges or?
I got that.
Thank you.
I mean, typically it's the campaign process, Charlene, and people go around door to door, and
Right.
if you're running for office, we can get you their phone numbers. I'm sure they'd be happy to talk to you.
Not just them, I'm just suggesting that they do a meet and greet because they don't know who is gonna be a potential person to bring them into the justice. So I'm just saying is, we might have to pick on, it would be good if you guys can formulate where they at least just do a 2-3 minutes bill. Hi, my name is such and such, I live in DeWitt, XYZ, and then go from there. So that we don't have to go to him. And then see them, when they put the signs out, bring this over, my name is such and such, I'm running. Or what can you do? That's just my suggestion.
Matt, are we able to do that as this is in essence, a neutral locale and we're not,
And judge campaign, or is it town board allowed to stand?
is the town board allowed to do what Ms. Bright is suggesting?
I would not recommend that the town host an event such as that, but the parties can, or judges can themselves. I agree, so. But we can find a way to definitely make something work.
So you think that's a good idea?
Board member to speak with judges.
Oh,
And make
okay.
suggestions,
I
but
mean, I know both candidates, and I know both of them would be happy to call you and talk with you, or I can give them your phone number. But it's, you know, again, we're
So
somewhat independent.
So this is where it gets, it's a little different because this time we have two non-incumbents for an open seat. True. But the problem with not only our other races that we have that are going on this year, but in other years where you have one incumbent and one not, town is hosting something, it can be perceived as an endorsement of me.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh,
So that's why I
okay.
kind of stay
That's
away
what
from
you're
that.
saying. Okay, stay like, okay. Okay, that's well put. And then second of all, I want to find out, people keep putting those yard sales and those estate sales on my property. And I've been going through this for the past 6 years. And when the other chief of police was here, he was like, "Shy, I don't want you to confront them. I want you to call the police and let them do their job." To me, that's a waste of time and resources. Call them and please, would you show y'all don't have a lot of words to go and answer all like that. So I'm just asking, is there any way when I do your next newsletter, please do not post on private property?
Yeah.
I mean, we can do that.
Say that?
I think I think it's,
You know,
it's kind of a given. I think most people know that you're not allowed to put signs on private property. And you certainly, since it's your property, you have the right to, you know,
right, and I
if
think,
it's bothering you, you can just pull it down and just leave it there.
okay,
Or you can take it and just put it in your garage. If somebody leaves something on your property,
well, I don't think a lot of people that's posting the signs are aware that the legality of posting signs, you know, so I'm like, what am I calling the police for? What are they gonna do? They're gonna go to the home and then say something.
Can you?
Maybe Dr. Gates, and he have a little article for you.
We could definitely do something, I think, in the next newsletter for the upcoming elections anyways, it's
yeah, no, we,
relevant.
yes, we can definitely can post the newsletter. I don't know how many people will read the newsletter and how many people will pay attention to it, because it's an ongoing issue for decades.
If you,
Or there's some they can't, maybe you want to speak up a little bit, because they're saying they can't hear on.
do you know the House I mean, you live in a very, do you know the folks?
I mean, I do, but one, police, chief.
I would agree. I don't want you going to the house.
Yes.
It's almost like, I mean, it's location based, right? You're right on the intersection, so people have garage sales, they want people to see the signs.
Yes.
Regardless of location. It's not a waste of our resources. Call us.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Shoot it away to the house. So, you don't need to,
Come from, that's
have a conversation.
right. Okay, that's good enough. And then also I wanted to find out is the guy that we supposed to elected to do the corporate diversity, is still on the paper?
Oh,
He's that guy. You know what I'm talking about? That's the right.
Who's running for office right now?
No, the guy that I was gonna pay to come in and do some type of.
I'm forgetting his name.
You're talking about Dr. Covington?
Yes.
Yes, that's real number, yes.
We had that program, did we not, Captain?
But he came in and gave was vice chair for the entire police department.
So are you asking?
So he already came and went. Oh, okay, I thought it was gonna be, but okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know that either. So they came and went.
Oh, no, that was part of our response to Executive Order 203, which is going back a couple of years now. And then it took a little bit of time to get the state funding in place so that we could afford the training. And that happened. That's all. Yeah.
Okay, shoot, that put my, then another one is that, I gave, Matt that medical bill that I have from you guys. Last time I gave you just a scenario of it and you made copies of it. So my question is, who's gonna be responsible? Cause I didn't follow my proper town guidelines, so I'm just trying to figure out who doing what and who suggesting what.
If you feel you can count over you put your medical bills.
Right, I mean, this is right, like, it's not about it.
The town board is not just always say, okay, here's 800 and change.
True.
Just because of the type of precedent that was set. So typically, if you've been wrong or you got hurt because of the town, you don't take that action of small claims courts like that.
Small claims court. Over $817 bill.
That's what small claims court is for.
But for out here, I didn't think small claims court would be sitting in a town to it, just to it property. Like, I didn't know.
There is small claims court.
Yeah, I know it's the offense, but this is the way.
You got,
I felt it.
I've got to do appear in small claims court. Yeah.
That's what's for any civil action under $10,000.
Yes.
No matter whether we just.
So you go to city court, small claims.
You would take civil action.
File an action. There's no DeWitt small claims court or Clay small claims court or et cetera. They would all go to the city.
Oh, those are all go
Yeah.
through the city. And so then if I'm going to small claims court, who from the wood is showing up on behalf.
You're looking at it.
Oh, you mad? Didn't know that. I just thought that it was a better way to remedy the situation versus going to small claims court. That's what
And I wouldn't be in there calling you a liar or anything. It's up to the judge. You present your case.
Okay.
I present my case and the judge.
I thought it was a better way,
Very rigid, you know.
maybe versus getting a attorney and the attorney pursue it. That's just my thought.
Okay, the people on Zoom are saying that when the speaker at the podium is speaking, there's a bit of a reverb, making it almost impossible to understand what she's saying. She's saying otherwise the Zoom is worthless. And now she can't hear what anyone's saying.
Hmm.
You just wait.
I don't know what, I've never had this issue before. I don't think it's set up any differently.
Because multiple microphones are on. Possible.
Are they able to hear us?
Why don't you try shutting off your microphones, because that could be possibly the first.
Okay, one out.
Yes. Well, they shouldn't, these ones, you shouldn't be using. Yeah, is yours on?
Try and talk right now.
Okay, yeah, turn that on.
These two are up.
We'll try that.
Want me to do a test on mine, turn it on?
No,
No, okay.
I guess just, well, we can ask them if they can hear. Is it now?
Or if it's a connection issue more than, because Liz was just saying it just keeps coming in and out, so.
Connection issues happen here.
All right, well, let's continue to see if we can
Yes,
at least talk, so she can find out if she can hear us or not. Hopefully it gets a little better.
Yeah.
Charlene, if you want to talk to me outside of the meeting, I'm happy to talk to you. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I didn't have your phone number,
You
yeah,
have the phone number, you can call me anytime, come down.
your contact information.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience with a question?
I'd like to discuss the assessments next.
We're gonna talk about that. That's on the agenda, so we're gonna talk about that in a few minutes. Anyone else online answer that has a question?
Does anybody online have a question?
So we're good? So we're gonna go to the agenda.
Yes.
Okay, since we have, these,
Want me to do a roll call?
oh yeah, do the, fine.
All right, Deputy Supervisor Mannion.
Here.
All right, Supervisor Michael Lenko is absent. Counselors, Doctor. Here. Giarenza.
Here.
Rochelle.
Here.
Clean Hood. Here. Join.
Here.
All right.
Okay, great. Yeah, Police Chief Billadou here. He has a quick presentation for us regarding an issue. We're gonna let Chase come on up and tell us about it, and then he's got another meeting he's got to run to. So we're gonna put Chase first tonight.
Thanks, guys. Oh, real quick, I think Karen had it on her agenda. I just want to mention that Ken Moy last week did go down to Albany and accept the HC's most recent reaccreditation through New York State. So this continues us being accredited through New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services since 1998. So it's a lot of work. I appreciate everything Kevin does, as well as everybody else, to make sure that we keep our accreditation status. So.
Congrats. Nice job, Chase.
I did want to talk quick. ESM School District has reached out. They would like to add a SPO, a Special Patrol Officer. Also known as an SRO sometimes, it's still service title differentiation, but they're looking to add an SPO officer. It would move between East Syracuse Elementary and Park Hill. They forwarded over a draft contract, which should have been shared as part of the minutes or after the minutes, because it came in a little late, so you guys should have seen that. I've had Matt take a look at it. Everything seems pretty good with the language of the contract. What I need to discuss with you is just the reimbursement schedule. We have to negotiate a reimbursement schedule with ESM. So as part of the reimbursement schedule, they would reimburse the full salary of the SPOs. 100% of the SPO salary would be paid to the school district. That would be the same salary they were paying the current SPO for Janesville West School District, which is consistent pretty much across the county. The current contract ESM School District has with the town of Manly Police Department for their other multiple SPO positions, they would reimburse the town of Manly an additional $10,000 for administrative fees, uniforms, things like that to run the program. So they pay the full salary of the officer, and then they pay for whatever training and equipment out of that $10,000 cost is. The Janesville School District pays us a little more than that currently. There's some history there. We used to have a full-time SRO whose salary was significantly higher than the SPO. And when that program changed, we have some of those administrative costs. Ideally, I would like the ESM School District to give me the same, reimburse the same rate that the JD does. I understand also that they need to try to stay consistent with their organization, and they already have a contract with ESM, so we're both kind of at odds here, and I think need to come in the middle a little bit. Their reimbursement schedule is an additional $10,000 a year for administrative costs and uniforms. I do think that's reasonable. If the program was up and running, I think the first year I would need to ask for probably an additional $5,000 on top of that. Because a lot of your upfront costs, you're getting an employee, the uniform, the radio, all the equipment costs, all those are heavy in the first year. And then once they have those things, they might need one uniform year, but they're not going to need another radio, they're not going to need new leather gear, they're not going to need all the stuff they need on the front end. So I think ESM will understand that, and we'll be able to come to an agreeable conclusion that for the first year, $15,000 reimbursement above the salary, and then every year after that, $10,000 would be acceptable. That would be acceptable for me, but it's not me that has to accept. It has to be acceptable to the board. I know we can manage it with that. It won't cost the town any additional money. We have a program. They'll respond to the same supervisor our current SPO responds to, so the additional administrative costs aren't as heavy as if you were starting the program from scratch.
Does the officer report here first or go right to school?
Typically, they come here, get a patrol vehicle, get changed, and then drive to school. So
Does that figure into what fuel in the car and everything?
that's part of the $10,000 cost, is that you're gonna provide a car and fuel and a cell phone. We have it spelled out, we spelled it out a little differently with JD, but essentially, we have administrative fees, uniform equipment, vehicle, cell phone, and then training costs. If there's any trainings.
Was the additional vehicle out of our, no, you're not getting an additional vehicle.
No, what I will do is not trade one car in this year that I would normally would have traded in. And then just keep one extra car, give them an older vehicle, because they're not driving from here to school, they're not driving it up patrol every day. So we will lose some of that trade-in cost, which is part of the reason I would ask for an additional 5,000 the first year. But then once we have it, we'll be trading in 3 vehicles and we'll be back in our normal rotation each
What's the length of the contract?
school year.
No, years. Years, is it? Or is it?
Years, just 1 year.
Oh, it's 1 year.
Yeah, 1 year, yeah.
So explain, if you would, Chief, the section about the additional 5,000, from whose pocket would that come?
So I would ask, I would like to ask ESM School District, they're proposing that we enter into an agreement, they pay the full salary of the police officer and $10,000 for administrative burdens to the police department, the town, essentially, they pay the town, they reimburse us monthly with a bill. What I'm asking is that for the first year, they reimburse us $15,000, and then
Start over costs.
yeah, and going forward, if we continue the program, there's no additional officers, then there could be $10,000 a year, or we can renegotiate. I'm not willing to accept them. They currently pay me at the town mainly, it's $10,000 a year. I need a little bit more than that to get the program up and running. So I'm gonna ask 50,000. I believe the school district, they understand that there are some costs. They've asked me to talk to the board and come back to them the number that I thought I could manage the program with. But I think they understand that. I wanted to have this conversation with you guys before I went back to the school district.
So since we're in a public forum, what I'm understanding you saying is this is not going to come irreparably, the additional 5,000 that you're seeking out of the pockets of the taxpayers, that we will be reimbursed that amount.
Well, it'll come from the school district.
From the school
It's not gonna cost the town to do it. This program will be fully funded by the school district. The additional SPO will not cost the town, the way taxpayers in regards to the town's budget, or the police budget, any additional money. This is, an SPO program is fully reimbursed
Thank you.
to the school district fund.
Okay.
Those 2 or 3 months of that school, where is this?
So in order to be an SPO, you have to be a retired police officer. That's how you get the status. It's a civil service title. They don't work in the summer. It's a 9-month schedule. They work 186 days a year, the school calendar, and then they're off in the summer. We bring them back about 2 weeks before the school year starts to do some training. But that's part of the program contract.
How? So the SPO and JT is primarily at the high schools.
Correct,
This is going to be elementary and pre-K.
correct.
How different of training do you expect to need to run between the two, or do you think that it'll be?
I don't think the training is necessarily different. They'll go to basic SRO school and things like that. I do think the day-to-day tasks will be slightly different. There will be different classes taught and things like that. You know, you're not teaching the same classes at the high school. You're not dealing with the same counseling issues and things like that at the elementary school that you are there. So they would be more bus safety, things like that. They're not teaching drug and alcohol abuse classes necessarily at the elementary school level or anything like that. They're having less interaction with the children than the SPO is at the high school on a day-to-day basis, and acting more as a security presence. So the activities will change, but I think that the training is essentially the same in regards to what they would have. And some of it might be personalities and skills that you look at for not necessarily training that we would provide, but who has the trainings for that particular role when we hire the individual as well. We looked at, Officer Norton had a lot of specialized trainings in regards to his career and what he did, and that was a good fit for a high school role. Those might be something we would take into account when we do the interview process with the school.
You got 1 officer for 2 schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Park Hill is a pre-K and they have just undergone a complete renovation. So it's what the school wants, it's really up to them. I don't know if they might not grow in the program or not, but that's what they're asking for. In the current time, and they've never had any. This is a new addition. Not, they have plenty of SPOs. ESE has never had, East Syracuse Cemetery Parkville never had any SPOs. Anytime they had an issue, an officer would come from Manlius to respond, but they're looking to grow the program and have a full-time officer assigned to that school. Sorry.
The question that you brought up by email, Carrie, is that something that Matt's prepared to discuss in executive session later on?
I think Jack answered the
No,
question.
I am,
We didn't get a response. No, Jack answered it.
No, not the grievance.
Yes, I can talk about it, just not in public.
Yeah, it's on,
The chief knows what's going on with that.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about it today, so, but we can talk about it in executive session, so.
Chief, do you anticipate having a hiring delay to find this person?
I'm hoping not to. I mean, we're ahead of it. It wouldn't start until, if I want to talk now, right? The goal would be they'd be hired the second week of August or so that they could get the basic SRO school prior to the start of the school year. That's always held in August. So there is a greater candidate pool of retired officers than there's new officers right now. So I think it'll be easier to fill this position than it is necessarily the new officer. I do, I'd like to move forward with the school and if they're agreeable to it, try to get some approval by this board by the beginning of July so that we can post it and go through the process. So
Speaking of posting, do you have a list of people that you would consider appropriate for that position? You'll be posting, but you must have some folks in mind that you think.
yeah, we have candidates that have recently retired from us that I think would be excellent candidates for this role. So I think we can reach out to them through our direct connections as well. So I believe we can get this one filled.
Thank you.
One last question for me, so even with the 15,000, what gap will there be in difference between the JD contract?
JD reimburses me currently at 33,500 a year above salary.
should have a lot more officers and the people who live in DeWitt ought to be campaigning for that. There's only one
And that is part of the program. When you look at it, ESM has eight, so they're reimbursing, families $80,000 a year for the program. Total, right? The more you have, the less individual work is required. So it's one of those things where if you had more officers, you won't necessarily need as much for each officer. Because you can spread out the administrative costs and the burdens on some of the administrative things. You're doing the same thing, multiple, you need a minimum amount just to get the program up and running. And then each additional is a little bit less than the first one would be. But because we already have the program established, that's the same reason I think we could function pretty rapidly with this. We have the schedule built, we have supervisors used to supervise them, so it's one of those things where each additional officer is slightly less expensive per officer. Like I said, ideally, I made the joke with Dr. Desiano, ideally, I'd love to get, I'd love the contract to be exactly the same for me and JD, and she'd love it to be exactly the same for her and me, unless we have to meet in the middle somewhere, I understand that. We're two entities that, we're not gonna be able to be exactly the same because they're different municipalities for contracts and it's never gonna be able to be accomplished, so. But I certainly support the program. And I don't think that we would be expending any town funds to do this. We can make it happen without spending additional town funds.
I'm glad you're.
And some of it is possibly a cost savings or at least an enhanced service to the town because now calls for service. For a road patrol officer would have had to go to the school and deal with it. This officer who was reimbursed by the school can deal with it, and then now that officer can be patrolling the village or be patrolling somewhere else that they would have been at the school tied up for a couple hours. Can provide an enhanced service to the community, at least from the police management and the town board side.
ESM has to agree to whoever.
Yeah, it'd be the same thing. We would probably, typical process is we would narrow it down to a field of 3 candidates and we'd have a panel interview with the school district and the school district would allow them to have final say on who the candidate was.
We sign the agreement after they agree to the specific person before.
I think I would probably want a motion saying that we agree to the program and the contract is usually typically written with an individual person in mind, we would want to upward motion that we're gonna move forward with the program. So that we can, I think would probably be the way to do
I'm only
it.
asking, I'm just hoping to resolve the other things before.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get rid of it.
Yeah, okay.
So, and this is a completely new position that's never existed before. It's a completely different.
I agree,
position.
I agree.
I think it's outside the bounds. I think you can speak on that later if you need to, but
I agree,
I
but
think,
there's an argument the other way.
sure, there's always time.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the audience? Chase, yeah, you've done a great job explaining it to us. I think we all have faith in your analysis of the numbers. It's something that the school districts want, and it's a great service we can provide it on mutually agreeable terms. So I think in general, I think the board's in favor of that.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll have communication with the school district and then we can come to an actual number and I'll come back and.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Okay, on to the agenda. Got the town board minutes. Did everybody have a chance to review the May 8th, 2023 board minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any changes, edits?
No, I think I really liked the after executive session recap that you did. I wasn't sure it was gonna be there, but thank you.
Okay, does anybody want to make a motion to accept the minutes? Sarah with a first. And Dr. seconds it, all in favor? Opposed? Passes. So, thanks, Ange.
Just going to make a comment. Does everyone else have access to those minutes, Angela?
They get posted on Econ.
Because there is a whole section from the May 8th minutes that discusses the intricacies and the ins and outs is a better way of putting it, of the assessment process. So if folks online or here in this forum, there's a decent enough outline there which you can look to help explain, like I just said, help explain the bases of reassessment.
Okay, second on the agenda is the permit to schedule a public hearing for the assessments. And Jack, did you want to schedule something for the second meeting in June, or do we want to talk about it tonight? I know we've got
We want to talk about, like,
we've got a resident here. We've been talking quite a bit about the assessments, and you want to just state your name and tell us your question or what your concerns are. We'll be happy to cover with you the assessment process. And actually, our town assessor is right back there, Al Kerr. So we can't use Al as an excuse, but Al knows everything about assessments. We all know.
Ann Johnson, 137 Edwards Drive.
Nice to meet you.
Me too. So I went to the grievance that I put in for my property, and I did read through I think you mentioned it, the minutes. I read through that. I don't understand all of that was in there. And I don't fully understand all of how it's done. I tried to figure it out. And then when I thought I figured it out, there's another piece that got added to it that just made me not understand. But
I mean, that's why, again, it's the assessment process is very complex. We have 11,500 parcels out. So which is very difficult to take 11,500 parcels and be 100% accurate on all 11,500 parcels. As far as residential goes, what do we have, about 6,500 now? About 8,000. So we've got about 8,000 of those 11,500 are residential parcels. Al, for the last 2 or 3 or 4 years, has been trying to bring them all together to get as accurate as he can. Your situation, the address, we're happy to, speak with you tonight to kind of talk about the different issues that you might have with your assessment.
so I would like to kind of understand, and I know that it was discussed why we assess at 100% market value. And something about, was said about if we didn't do 100%, the tax rate is just gonna go up. Which,
Well, here's what happens. There are 20 entities in the county that assess properties. You have City of Syracuse and 19 towns. 6 of those 19 towns stay at 100% market value. So your assessment is going to be is what we think is your fair market value. Clay has never changed their assessments. They let the state do it for them. So if you don't increase your assessments,
2.98, I would like that.
yeah, well, they just keep going down because your property value goes up, so your equalization rate goes down. We're at 100%. If we took a couple of years off from reassessing properties, we might go down to 98%, 97%.
Why do you assess every year?
Al doesn't assess every year. He again, he's got 8,000 residential properties that he tries to stay on top of.
Well, got mine.
He got me 3 years in a row. I think he's got a lot of the board members. John's back there. I don't know how many times he's gotten your neighborhood, John, but again, Al, I mean, the assessment, generally speaking, can you sell your house for your assessment? And that's what we try to, that's what the 100%.
Unfortunately, the answer right now is yes, because the market is off the wall. There's nothing out there, so people are gonna buy my property. Plus, I'm in JD.
Right.
District, and that's a sought after district, all right?
Yes.
My kid doesn't want to go to a different school. She wants to stay in JD.
We
I can't afford my home anymore. I have to move. And I can't, there's nothing on the market right now that I can afford in JD. I have to go from owning a $240,000 house. That's roughly what I bought it for, to owning something that's probably around 140,000. Do you know what that looks like? It looks like shit.
Fine.
Honestly, it does. And I'm gonna have to buy that home. And then I'm gonna have to make repairs to that just so that it's actually livable. I went and looked at 3 homes on Friday that were in my new price range, not in the JD district either.
Right.
And they were filthy, they were covered in mold, there were ceiling tiles falling down. That's the type of home I have to put my kids in now because of this assessment. Because last year, my assessment went up 59.9%. This year, it went up another 13%. Last year, I didn't realize what that did to me, and now I do. It raised my mortgage $650 a month. I can't afford that. I'm a single mother. 1 income into this house. I make decent money. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to afford that. But my school tax is going from $6,294 to roughly, I did the math, unless the tax rates are going up as well, which they probably will, right?
Our tax rate the town tax rate actually went down last year. I think the school, Max, you know what the school did last year? Because
The school went down last
the school went down too. I mean, what's
So,
happening,
for this September, is it going down again?
year. It should,
it should go down.
it should not, because of the assessments, right?
Because we actually, roughly speaking, the town has $3 billion worth of assessed value, 3 billion. With all the increases, and Al has pretty much tried to stay even across the board, what, 10% now? You're,
It was about 14% increase for all this year.
okay, so
Mine was around 13.
so our new assessment is probably gonna be about 3.3, 3.4 billion, Al, do you know, have you figured that out? What's our total assessed value gonna be for
About 3.8.
we're up to 3.8. So we collect as a town, now I can't speak for the school, but we collect for the town, if you take the highway and the general fund, which is our town hall and our police, about $15 million a year. So you take the 3 billion divided by 15 million, we're gonna go up 1 or 2%. We're obligated to the tax cap. But now that number is gonna be divided by 3.8 billion. So our tax rate will continue to go down. But again, when you get hit with again, Al's kind of gone through trying to equalize your neighborhood. And that's the only fair way that
Right.
We can-
And I
we can
took
make a guard
the
real estate.
assessments or some comps or whatever that are close to mine and they are assessed at less than mine. So I think that they'll go down, you know, I think they'll take my assessment back down, but it's not gonna help me because my mortgage has already gone up. I paid my mortgage this month and it left $0 in my bank account.
No,
And I'm just.
I understand.
keep buying until I get my house sold, you know, it's not sustainable. And I gotta tell an 11-year-old that she's gotta go to a different school for the 4th year in a row, so, like, it's just. Why am I paying why is a single mother paying $7,000 in school taxes? And why is a school tax based on my property value?
So we New York State has done it for,
I absolutely agree that the school taxes should not be based on property taxes.
Yeah.
But that is a state issue that we need to deal with.
It's such a state issue.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So
I've always said if I run for governor, that's gonna be my, we're taking school taxes off the tax bill.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be out there. But that's the way the state does it and,
All right, well.
but no, we hear you. We're doing everything we can to keep our budget under control. You know, the last 2 or 3 years with inflation, you know, costs have risen. And most of the school and most of our budget, 75-80% of our budget is salaries. And people's salaries have increased, benefit, so everything just,
Mine hasn't.
everything is
You
just
know what I
gotten,
mean?
everything has just gotten more expensive. Supplies, everything has gotten more expensive. And
Yeah,
we're doing everything we
These
can.
are paying us more.
And we haven't gotten it on the schedule, but we did take, you may have read in the meeting notes that we took solicitations from the community last meeting that we had on May 8th. And they had 3 distinct options that they would like us to look at in terms of assessments. And we wouldn't be well, once we schedule it, the next informational hearing, those 3 options will be on the table for us to consider. Because we've heard that this is sustainable for the community.
And that was that's on the minutes somewhere.
Yeah, yes,
No, she did distinctly outline that, but we are looking at alternative methods to collecting assessments to try to alleviate this burden. Of that community.
and we're having separate meetings, as Sarah is saying, public hearings, so that people don't need to come individually like this, so we will have information sessions to explain the current analysis, the way between us and New York State as it's been done. So
That was one thing I didn't understand. It says something on here like that y'all, like someone made a motion, but then no one seconded the motion. But then someone else made another motion and nobody seconded that motion, but it was 2 different of you guys. And so, like, why didn't you?
I think what we did, you know, the die is cast for this year.
Yeah,
Al is currently setting the tax roll, and when does that need to be in by, Al? July 1st. So
yeah, I mean,
we are gonna continue as a board to talk about this issue.
Right.
Because we did talk about it a little bit at the beginning of this year. And we are gonna continue to talk about it to see how we want to handle, do we want to stay as 100% assessment down? Or are we willing to back off a little bit? And it's philosophical because
and so.
16 towns don't stay at 100%, 6 of us do.
And if I think, I was having another discussion with someone else today about this, and I think he helped me understand, like, you know, so the school tax is based on the school's budget.
Right.
So that really needs to be looked at, but that's a school board thing, right? Not a town thing. So, and then I mean, honestly, and the other thing, like, I should have had some exemptions, but I got my paperwork in, like, I don't know, 12 days later or something. So I didn't get my exemption, but the exemptions are only on the town taxes, not the school taxes. And the school taxes are where I get the exemptions, you know? So, and really all of this for me is a moot point, because like I said, I have to sell. There's no way I can sell, even if he does lower it, you know. It's a done deal for me. I can't stay here. I can't stay in this town. So I'm really just here because there's other people that are gonna be in this situation.
Understand.
And but the school does not do the, and again, it's probably not y'all's thing, but like the school should accept a tuition program where kids that aren't in their district can pay to go to their school and then lower the frickin' taxes. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's again, probably a state, there's probably,
I do not know yet specifically.
I don't think schools would be allowed to do that.
Well, I know that some do a tuition program, but I don't know which ones, but.
Maybe if you're a teacher at a school, your children can go, but I don't think you can just randomly say, hey, I want to go to JD, I want to go to FM, and I'll pay the freight. And I
I don't know. I
Because
called
every
the school and talked to them about it, and the lady I spoke to said that, all she said was that, you know, she does know that some do it, but JD doesn't. So I don't know. That, again, that's
Yeah.
hearsay, right? So, I don't know. It's definitely a problem, and like, on, you know, the neighborhood app, like I've posted something on there, and there's a lot of people talking on there. There's a lot of people in the same situation as me, so you're gonna be losing more, you know, more people out of this town.
No, it doesn't make any of us feel good about it. I mean, again,
The assessments, we're not gonna go up for another year or two. If they were being held, would that allow you to stay in your home?
I would have to have documentation, I guess, showing that my tax bill was gonna be lowered this coming September and the coming January, that I could send to my bank to show my bank that the taxes are gonna be lower. And then they would be able to lower my mortgage back down, because it's an escrow thing, right? It's like they're making up for the,
increase.
you know,
Yeah.
the increase. And so that was hurting me. So basically, you know, like if they heard my case on June 1st, and if they do lower my assessment again, it doesn't even matter to me because it's too late.
Another issue with that, Jack, is that, you know, the school is basically 50%, the county is 35%, and we're 14% of the tax bill. So we don't have a lot of say. We don't have a lot of say on what the school does.
Thank you.
But thank you for coming and speaking to us. It is appreciated. All right,
So I have somebody online that. Let's see it. Mark
Oh, Mark Sakonik.
Sakonik.
Hi, Mark.
Our property value has gone down with West and Tear.
Wear and tear.
wear and
Wow,
tear
thank you.
with
And-
major water flooding damage. So why do you assess our property at a worth significantly more than previously? Our fence is falling down. The repair quote is over $16,000. Our roof needs replacement. Our overall repairs are for more than we have. We are starting to feel like the woman speaking about not being able to stay where she lives. How's that? Pretty good, huh? I guess all I can say to that is, since we are at 100%, and if there are special circumstances that while it's too late this year, that Al's door is typically open to do an informal grievance every year and then a formal grievance. And again, since we have 8,000 residential properties, it is impossible for our assessor to understand the intricacies of all 8,000 properties. But that is why he makes himself available prior to setting the tax roll to take into account special circumstances. At this point, Al, you're probably gonna tell us there's not much we can do. I don't know if this gentleman went and filed a formal grievance.
Last name doesn't, no, I'm not actually positive. I can't do anything this year. He hasn't filed already. But like I explained, anybody comes in these kind of things, what I do is mass appraisal. So I'm looking at, numbers and statistics and going over those and doing this. The grievance period, when I do the informals and the formal, that is for bringing your individual property problem. So if there's some issue with just your property in particular, the grievance is when you bring that in. I take anything in all year long. I keep them for when I'm gonna go with my number. So he could bring in something at any point this time. And I put them in a folder and I go and do the, tentative roll for next year. I get everything out and I go over everybody's issues that they have.
And thanks, Al. So, I mean, it was Mark, right? I mean, all I would suggest is that Mark emails or calls our assessors. Again, we're probably not gonna be able to do anything for this year, but rather be sooner than later, because Al will take into account what he tells them, and whether, again, whether it's September, October, November, where Al has a little free time, because I know right now you're still pretty buried with the process, the current process. So I would suggest that Mark make an appointment with Al when it slows down a little bit, when he gets done completing the tax rolls for this year. And again, we've all known Al for a long time. He's a very nice man, very professional, and I'm sure he'll take the situation into account if he can.
I think you have one other person that is looking to speak
Okay.
on that. I think she's raising her hand, so. Wendy, if you want to speak, you can unmute yourself and speak.
No, actually, that was an error. I don't know how the hand, I'm not touching my computer except for unmuting. No, but thank you, I appreciate it. But actually, just clarify something for me since you've got me now. My understanding, and you need to tell me if it's correct, is that while the assessments are all going up, or that does not necessarily mean that the taxes are going up. And even when the taxes go up, obviously they don't go up the same huge percentage of the assessment. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes.
That is correct.
Okay, because I know that sometimes, I mean, nobody's happy about their assessments going up, unless, of course, they're looking to sell their house and not buy another one right away. But I think some people have a sense that if my assessment went up 40%, my taxes are going to go up something astronomical like that, which is not accurate.
That's right.
Okay.
It's not that not accurate though, because my taxes did go up.
Sounds like if you've got a mortgage escrow, that may be the exception. Because clearly for the lady who spoke there, she's in a very different and difficult situation, locked in even if her taxes don't go up.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, again, the tax rate will go down. How much your assessment goes up, everybody's is a little bit different. And this is really the first few years we've had this issue because there has been no property appreciation until COVID. A little before COVID is when we actually started seeing large increases of value of our housing. For 20 years, I think my house was probably worth less than what I paid for it in 1993. And now might break even, but after 30 years. But we'll continue to talk about this issue as every meeting goes by. We're always willing to take questions during any meeting about assessments. And again, Al Kerr, our assessor, is pretty well versed on the law and how it works and what neighborhoods went up what. And we'll do everything we can to get this under control and see where the values go in 2024, 25. My personal opinion is I think they're gonna start to flatten out. But we'll see in the next 12 to 24 months.
Isn't it also based on location, though? I mean, a split level in my neighborhood is compared to a split level, say in, for example, Center Street in East Syracuse. Wouldn't that assessment, it's a town-wide assessment, am I correct? So the same split level in East Syracuse is going to pay what I know.
No.
No, I mean, Al Al has his areas that he,
It's not a town-wide assessment.
So I break them down by neighborhoods, and then I raise the neighborhoods, the percentages of based on what the sales going on in that neighborhood.
So this, my lot size, my house size may be equal to someone in the village of East Syracuse or the hamlet of Janesville. And they may even have a bigger split. They'll pay less.
They could, depending on the area, because, you know, the areas, we have a pretty diverse town here. So if you have some huge homes and, you know, that are just selling in nicer areas like that. And then you have places like the village that they don't sell as high as some of the other areas. I can't assess those at the same rate. They have to, that's why I break down by the neighborhoods, and I'm looking at what they're selling at that neighborhood and trying to follow those sales.
But how can you assess a home off of the sale of the house? It should be based on the lot size, the size of the house, how many bedrooms it has. If it's a 2-car garage, a single car garage, not what the person sold it for. It's how big the house is and how big the lot size is. I should be the guy in East Syracuse, the home in Hamlet of Janesville, should be paying the same assessment that I'm paying on the size of my home, size of my lot, and the size of my, how many bedrooms I have. So he could put on an addition on his house, and because it's in the village of East Syracuse, and you don't feel that East Syracuse is equal to the Jonathan Craig tract, and he sounds like, he says, oh, well, like, this is great, I can make this, my house into a 5-bedroom split and add 4 garages to it, and I'll pay less than the guy over Jonathan Craig. That's not right. That it should be a town-wide assessment, no matter where you live, your lot size, and the size of your home. And if it's a split level, a raised ranch, a colonial, everybody pays the same rate if you have the same size house. Town-wide assessment, no matter where you are, no matter where you live. People, naturally, the people up in Steinway are gonna pay more because, you know, I mean, the house is a lot bigger up there. But if there's a house the same size as mine in the hamlet of Janesville, or in the village of East Syracuse, you should be paying the same what I pay in the assessment. Although I'm not complaining about my assessment, because I came from an area where my house is, this house that I'm living in now, which I'm not really complaining, but what I'm saying is, my house where I'm living now, right now, would be $8,000. I came from Salve, and that's one of the issues. If you look at all towns and villages across the state and the county, industries left the state of New York. And the towns and villages are footing the bill because these gooses that laid their golden eggs, Bristol Myers Squibb Care Corporation, they left. They paid a huge tax base. They're gone now. So it affects the services, the police, the highway department. I don't know how the fire district is a political subdivision fire district. They have a separate board. So I don't know how they assess, but I still getting back to me. It's a town-wide assessment. It should be town-wide. I went to a tax grievance day and I don't know how you have a tax grievance board. I believe when I went there, I brought a picture of my home. This was back in South. I brought a picture of my raised ranch. When I got there, the town assessor and the board of appeals said to me, "Oh, this is really nice. You got your neighborhood, but did you go out in the town and look at the homes out there?" I said, "Well, no, I didn't." They said, this is a town-wide assessment. So big deal. I think they dropped me $500, but they said I had to go to Tarrytown and I had to go over to Lakeland and look at those raised ranches over there and take pictures of their raised ranches and then compare the price, compare the size of the lot and the size of the house. That's my opinion. I should be paying, so the person in the village of East Syracuse who's got a house just like mine should be paying what I pay, town tax.
Are there any other questions about the assessment process? Anybody else on my edge?
No, just, Mark had said, thanks a lot. The explanation really did help. Assessment is not an indication. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, we're gonna move on to item number 3, the National Grid 10,000 trees program. Do we have to accept this, Matt? You just have to approve it for the
National Grid,
just the tree program. Right?
the gas contract?
No, not the yes, just
Are we going to schedule the public information hearing now?
For the assessments, that's actually sort of 2A, Carrie.
yeah, when do we want to schedule?
On behalf-
6:05 the
The
26th.
26th, is that, yes.
Can you do that, Ange?
I won't be here, but Kate will.
Okay. Those who are listening and those,
Sure she
for the second meeting of June on the 26th, we are going to continue our discussion on assessments and the process, and we're gonna have an informational hearing to continue to help explain process and why we have the process that we do. And we will ask our assessor, Al Kerr, to come back and attend that meeting with us as well. And again, thanks Al for coming tonight. Always good to have you here.
You gotta make a motion.
Motion to schedule the public hearing.
Motion from Joe Trenza, second from Sarah Clee Hood, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Al. Top board just has to, and have a good night.
Bye, Ms. Johnson.
Angela, that's,
What's that?
top board just has to make a motion to pass a resolution.
And we just need to pass resolutions to the National Grid Tree Program,
Trees program.
where National Grid reimburses us, I think it's $50 a tree.
And there's language in there for you mentioned.
Yeah.
Motion from Joe Trenza, second from Jack Dooling, all in favor? Aye, opposed. Motion carries. Let's see, we've got the 2022-23 MS4 annual report. I just think that we need to,
That you just basically have to,
Summer report to the state?
no, it's within the Central New York Regional Planning Board, it's the MS4.
Yeah, we gotta send it to New York State DEC.
Yeah, but I think the process is through the CNY Regional Planning Board. because-
So Doug does that.
But,
Doug does that.
yeah, he does that, but he does it in conjunction with the.
Yeah.
Saying,
Fill this out, this has to be
It's our annual report.
that's our annual stormwater management program. So just,
I'll send it out.
just so everybody knows, we have filed our MS4 annual report.
to approve.
So you're motioning to approve the file of that with the New York State DEC.
Okay, Max, want to make that motion?
Sure. Halfway up.
Four facts.
Karen Doctor seconds it. We can now file our MS4 annual report.
Yep.
With the DEC, Ange.
Yes.
Trees. Stormwater.
All right.
Stormwater.
We've got a fireworks permit for Onondaga Golf and Country Club for July 15th. Motion from Joe, second from Sarah, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Then the summer schedule,
Mhm.
I think it's gonna be, I don't,
After
Can
the
I,
26th.
I would prefer it to be 8:30 in the morning, only because, it'll only be, Kate and I in the office. So that 8:30 would help.
No objection from me.
for the
For the summer, July and August. Here's the MS.
And do we drop to 1 a month?
I think they were, I was proposing the two, we keep the same schedule. Yeah, we always would cancel. We always do a special board meeting, so you just keep all of them and just have them in the morning.
Great.
Regular schedule. 8:30.
Yeah.
So it'll be July 10th and July 24th at 8:30.
8:30?
Okay, do I have a motion to set the summer schedule, July meetings at 8:30, July 10th and July 24th at 8:30? Motion from Joe is
August
Do we want to do August yet, or do we want to wait until?
Yeah, you usually do them all at once.
Okay, let's do August as well. What are the dates for August?
14 and 28.
Okay, summer schedule. Do we have a motion to set the July and August board meetings for 8:30 a.m.? Motion from Joe Chirenza, second from Jack Dooling. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
14th and 20th.
And when are you're gonna be at town next week?
Next board meeting for the 26th, I'll be out,
Yeah.
but I'll be back for the next ones.
We got to.
Okay.
Okay.
The 20th.
We have any other town board updates?
You just have the tree injection contract, that's the, yes, that's the actual.
Right here in the thing here.
It wasn't on the agenda, but we do need to approve the intergovernmental agreement for the Emerald Ash Borer Treatment Program.
Injections.
Re-injections. Roughly, it looks like there's a budget in here for about 48 trees, a little under $9,000. And I think we've been doing this for how many years now? Does anybody know? 3 years? 3 years. 3 years. Got a motion from Joe to accept the contract, second from Karen Doctor, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Is that it, Angie? Anything else on there? So that wasn't on my agenda.
Yeah, that was, because that was after the agenda came out.
Okay. Any town board updates?
Go ahead, Eric. Sorry.
I just wanted to let some people know individually, but I just wanted to let everybody know in the community that the New York State Assembly and New York State Senate both approved our home rule request that we put forth for the additional hotel tax. And so it's just awaiting
Room
the
occupancy
governor's, the room occupancy tax, yeah, so it's awaiting the governor's signature, which will be a while, but this was a major milestone in getting it passed in the Senate Assembly. So we appreciate and thank our Senator Mannion and Assembly Member Hunter for shepherding us through. And thank you, Matt, as well. And Angela as well for everything they did to get it done.
Great news.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt.
Sarah wanted to talk about.
Yes, sidewalk conversation for Waring Road has been tentatively proposed for either Tuesday, June 27th or Wednesday, June 28th. Myself and Doug Miller will be there. We will look for 2 more town board members, but I need to slip by the date. I just wanted y'all to be aware of the end of this month. With a presentation at the First Universal Unitarian Church over there.
Also about moving the Pride Day.
Yes, thank you. We canceled
All right.
the pride flag has been raised and it's been up since June 1st. We were going to do a little ceremony tonight, but the weather delayed it, so we will do it next town board meeting, which will be June 26th. The Girl Scouts will be in present.
5:30.
5:30.
Thank you, Sarah. Did we do the fireworks permit?
Yes.
Yes.
We did vote on, it. Okay. We missed it, man.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, anything from the audience? Sure, I know you just walked in. Do you have any questions for us? 'Cause-
Thank you for asking.
Okay, because I think we're about to go into executive session. Okay, so I thank everyone for attending tonight. Nice to see everyone. And I'm gonna make a motion to go into executive session. Second from Jack Dooling, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Let me just close everything down.
Have a good night, John.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, take care.